The alarm bells rang across Luna Station at exactly 14:30 Earth Standard Time. Commander Tae-ho Kim ran down the metal hallways, his boots making loud sounds on the floor. Today was the day humanity had waited for since they first looked up at the stars. "Sir, they're here," said Communications Officer Dong-wook Lee. His hands shook as he pointed at the big screen. A massive ship hung in space near the moon. It was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. The ship looked like a giant metal flower with sharp edges. Strange lights moved across its surface. Tae-ho stopped and stared. After 200 years of space travel, humans had finally met aliens. Real aliens. The Galactic Council had sent them a message 3 weeks ago. They said a new member species wanted to meet humanity. The species was called the Vorthok Empire. "Get Dr. Myung Park and tell her to come now," Tae-ho said. "We need our best scientist here." Myung arrived 5 minutes later. She was a small woman with short black hair and bright eyes. She had studied alien life for 20 years, but only from far away. Today she would meet real aliens face to face. "Are you ready for this?" Tae-ho asked her. "I've been ready my whole life," Myung said, but her voice was quiet. She was nervous too. The alien ship sent another message. They wanted to meet in Luna Station's main meeting room. Tae-ho, Myung, and Dong-wook walked there together. The room was the biggest space on the station. It had a long table and chairs for 30 people. Earth flags hung on the walls next to pictures of famous human explorers. At exactly 15 o'clock. Bright lights filled the room. The air made a buzzing sound. Then the aliens appeared. They came through some kind of teleporter beam. There were 5 of them. Tae-ho's mouth fell open. The aliens were tall, maybe 8 feet high. Their skin was gray and smooth like stone. They had 4 arms and 2 legs. Their heads were long and narrow. Their eyes were black and had no pupils. They wore dark robes with metal symbols. The tallest alien stepped forward. When he moved, the others stayed behind him like soldiers. "Am High Arbiter Velthos of the Vorthok Empire," the alien said. His voice was deep and cold. He spoke perfect English, but it sounded wrong somehow. "We represent the newest member of the Galactic Council." Tae-ho stepped forward and bowed his head. "Welcome to Luna Station. I am Commander Tae-ho Kim. This is Dr. Myung Park and Officer Dong-wook Lee. We speak for all of humanity." Velthos looked at them for a long time. His black eyes moved from person to person, then he made a sound. It took Tae-ho a moment to realize the alien was laughing. "These are the humans," Velthos said to his companions. "They look even more primitive than the reports said." The other aliens made the same laughing sound. Myung felt her face get hot. Dong-wook's hands made fists. "We are honored to meet you," Tae-ho said. He tried to stay calm. "Perhaps we could sit and talk about our 2 species." "Talk," Velthos said. "What could we possibly learn from you? Look at this place." He waved one of his 4 arms around the room. "Your technology is so simple. Your ship designs are like toys. Your weapons are barely better than throwing rocks." Myung stepped forward. "Our technology may be different from yours, but we have made great progress in progress." Another alien interrupted. This one was shorter than Velthos, but had more metal symbols on his robe. "We studied your history. You fight wars every few years. You kill your own kind over pieces of land. You pollute your planet and use up its resources. This is what you call progress." The aliens laughed again. The sound filled the room like cold. "Wind, your species is barely evolved beyond apes," Velthos said. "How did the council even consider you for membership? You come from a backwater mudball at the edge of nowhere. Your people are violent, stupid, and wasteful." Tae-ho felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. This was too important to let emotions control him. "We admit, humans have made mistakes," he said. "But we have also done great things. We have art, music, literature. We explore space because we want to learn and grow." "Art," Velthos made a disgusted sound. "We looked at your so-called art, random colors thrown on canvas, noise you call music, stories about violence and war. This is what passes for culture among humans." Myung couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Our diversity is our strength," she said. "Humans think differently, create differently, solve problems differently. That's how we've survived and grown." "Diversity," the shorter alien said. "You mean chaos?" "A civilized species thinks as one. They work together toward common goals. Humans fight each other over everything. Different religions, different governments, different ideas about right and wrong. It's barbaric." Velthos walked closer to the humans. He was so tall that they had to look up at him. "We came here to see if the reports were wrong," he said. "We hoped humans might have some hidden quality that made them worth knowing. But you are exactly what we expected. Primitive, violent, unfit for civilized space." "Now wait just a minute," Dong-wook said. His voice was loud and angry. "You can't just come here and insult us like this." "We can do whatever we want," Velthos said. "The Vorthok Empire controls 17 star systems. We have been part of the Galactic Council for 3,000 years. What do you control? One small system, with 9 planets, most of them are empty rocks." The alien leader turned to his companions. "I think we have seen enough. We will recommend to the Council that humanity be placed under quarantine. They are too dangerous and too primitive to be allowed to spread through the galaxy." Mia felt something strange happening. During the whole meeting, she had been running quiet scans of the aliens. It was normal procedure to learn about new species, but the readings were very odd. The aliens' brain patterns were not normal. They seemed to be connected to each other somehow. Before you make that decision, Myung said calmly, perhaps you should learn more about humanity. You might be surprised by what we're capable of. Velthos looked down at her. His black eyes seemed to look right through her. There's nothing about your species that could surprise us, he said. Humans are exactly what they appear to be, nothing more. The aliens began to glow with the same light as before. The teleporter was starting to work. We will send our report to the council tomorrow, Velthos said. Enjoy your last days of freedom. Humans, soon you will be locked in your little system, where you belong. The light got brighter. Then the aliens were gone. The room was very quiet. Taeho, Myung and Dongwook stood there looking at the empty space where the aliens had been. Well, Dongwook said finally, that went better than I expected. Myung was looking at her scanner readings. Something about the aliens bothered her. Their brain patterns were too uniform, too connected. It was like they were all parts of the same mind. Sir, she said to Taeho, I think we need to study these readings very carefully. Something about the Vorthok isn't right. Taeho nodded. Start your analysis immediately. And Dongwook, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have a problem. Outside the station's windows, the alien ship moved away from the moon. Its strange lights pulsed in patterns that looked almost like a heartbeat. Soon it disappeared among the stars, leaving only empty space behind. But Myung's scanners had recorded everything, and those recordings would soon reveal a secret that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about the Vorthok Empire. 3 days passed after the Vorthok left Luna Station. Commander Taeho Kim sat in his office reading reports. Dr. Myung Park was still studying the alien brain scans. Everything seemed normal until the emergency alert came through the speakers. All senior staff to the command center immediately. The voice said, Priority 1 message from Earth Command. Taeho ran to the command center. Myung and Dongwook were already there. Admiral Jaemin Ko's face appeared on the main screen. He looked worried and tired. Commander Kim, the admiral said, we have a situation. 3 hours ago, every Vorthok ship in known space went silent. All of them, at exactly the same time. Silent. Taeho asked, what do you mean silent? No radio signals? No responses to calls? No movement? It's like they all just stopped existing at once. Myung stepped closer to the screen. All of them. How many ships are we talking about? Over 2,000 ships? Across 17 star systems, the admiral said. Plus their space stations, colonies, and homeworlds. Nothing. Complete silence. Dongwook's face went white. That's impossible. You can't lose that many ships at once without some kind of signal, or distress call. That's what makes this so strange, Admiral Ko said. Ships don't just disappear. There should be wreckage, emergency beacons, something. But there's nothing at all. The admiral's expression got more serious. Commander, I'm sending Captain So-young Choi and her crew to investigate. The exploration ship New Horizon is the closest to Vorthok space. They'll reach the first station in 6 hours. What about the Galactic Council? Taeho asked. What are they saying? That's the other problem, the admiral said. Half the council species are pointing fingers at us. They think humans had something to do with this. Us. Myung said. That's crazy. We met them for the first time 3 days ago. I know, but the timing looks bad. The Vorthok insults humanity. Then 3 days later, they disappear. Some council members think it's too much of a coincidence. The screen went dark. Taeho, Myung, and Dongwook looked at each other. None of them knew what to say. 6 hours later, Captain So-young Choi stood on the bridge of the New Horizon. She was a tall woman with short hair and calm eyes. She had been exploring space for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like this. Captain, said engineer Hyeon Woonam, we're approaching Vorthok Station Delta 7. It should be visible on the screen now. The main screen showed a massive space station floating in the dark. It was bigger than Luna Station, with long arms that spun slowly in space. Lights blinked along its surface. Everything looked normal. Hyeon Woo, are you picking up any life signs? So-young asked. Hyeon Woo looked at his instruments. That's the strange part, Captain. The station is getting power. All the systems are running. But I'm not reading any biological life at all. Medical officer Yoon Ji-yoon checked her own scanners. He's right. The station should have 5,000 Vorthok living on it. But I'm reading 0 life signs, not even small animals or plants. Maybe they evacuated, suggested pilot Jin Ho-seo. Where would they go? So-young asked. And why would they leave the station running? She made a decision. We're going aboard. Hyeon Woo, Yeonji, you're with me. Ginho, keep the ship ready in case we need to leave quickly. The 3 officers took a small shuttle to the station. The docking bay doors opened automatically when they approached. Everything worked perfectly, but no one came to meet them. They walked through empty corridors. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. The walls were smooth and gray, just like Vorthok skin. Strange symbols glowed softly in the air, showing directions and information. This is really creepy, Hyeon Woo whispered. It's like everyone just vanished into thin air. They reached the central command center. It was a huge room with curved walls, covered in screens and controls. Everything was still running. Data moved across the screens, lights blinked, but there were no people anywhere. EU1G walked to a control station. Captain, look at this. The last log entry was made exactly 3 days ago at 1723 station time. Right after that, nothing. What does the log say? So Young asked. It's in Vorthok language, but the computer is translating it. It says, standard duty shift continues. All systems normal. Colony population steady at 4,847 individuals. So-young felt a chill run down her back. And then what happened? Nothing. The computer shows that 4,847 Vorthok were on the station at 1723. At 1724, it shows 0 life forms. But there's no record of ships leaving or any emergency alerts. Hyanwu was studying another console. Captain, this is really weird. All the personal quarters still have belongings in them. Food is still sitting on tables. Some of it is still warm. They split up to search more of the station. Every room told the same story. The Vorthok had been there one moment and gone the next, but they hadn't taken anything with them. Clothes hung in closets, personal items sat on shelves. Half-finished meals grew cold on tables. In one room, Youngji found something that made her stop breathing. Captain, you need to see this. So, and Hyanwu came running. Youngji was standing next to a bed. The covers were pulled back like someone had just gotten up, but there was a strange outline in the bed sheets. It was the exact shape of a Vorthok body. It's like they just faded away, Youngji said quietly. Whatever happened, it happened while they were sleeping, eating, working. They didn't have time to react. Back on Earth, Admiral Jamin Ko received reports from human ships across the galaxy. Every single Vorthok facility was the same, empty but intact. No signs of struggle or damage, no bodies, no escape ships. The aliens had simply vanished. The Admiral called an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. President Dejin Cho sat at the head of a long table. Around her were generals, scientists, and diplomats. How many people are we talking about? The president asked. Our best estimate is about 50 million Vorthok across all their worlds and stations, Admiral Ko said. All gone at the same time. General Sungwon Park leaned forward. Could this be some kind of weapon? Maybe another alien species attacked them. That's what we thought at first, the Admiral said. But there's no evidence of any attack. Weapon marks, no damage, no radiation. They just disappeared. Dr. Won-Jae Lim, Earth's top alien expert, spoke up. Has anyone considered that this might not be an attack at all? What if something happened to the Vorthok themselves? Some kind of internal problem? Like what? The president asked. I don't know. Maybe a disease that affects their minds. Or a technology problem. We know very little about how Vorthok society really works. The Admiral's phone buzzed. He looked at it and his face went pale. We have another problem. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They want to question humanity about the Vorthok disappearance. Question us, President Cho said. What do they think we did? They think the timing is suspicious. The Vorthok insult us. Then they disappear. Some council members are demanding that we explain what happened. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. If the Galactic Council thought humans were responsible for the Vorthok disappearance, they might decide humanity was too dangerous to exist. When is this meeting? The president asked. Tomorrow at Galactic Standard Time, 12 o'clock. Representative Su Jin-han will speak for us. President Cho stood up. Then we better figure out what really happened to the Vorthok, and we better do it fast. Meanwhile, on Luna Station, Dr. Myung Park was still studying the brain scans from the first contact meeting. Something about the readings bothered her, but she couldn't figure out what it was. She had been comparing Vorthok brain patterns to human ones. Human brains showed lots of individual differences. Each person thought in their own unique way, but the Vorthok brains were almost identical. They showed the same patterns, the same rhythms, like they were all connected somehow. That's impossible, she said to herself. Individual minds can't be that similar, unless... double quotes. She stopped. A terrible idea was forming in her mind. What if the Vorthok weren't really individuals at all? What if they were all parts of the same larger mind? And if that was true, what would happen if something disrupted their connection? Myung's hand shook as she reached for her communicator. She needed to tell Commander Tae-ho what she had discovered, because if she was right, then humanity might have accidentally done something terrible, and the whole galaxy was about to blame them for it. The Galactic Council meeting room was huge. It could hold representatives from 100 different alien species. Today, it was full of angry voices and suspicious looks. Representative Su Jin-han sat alone at the human table, feeling very small. The council leader was an ancient being called Ethmar. His species, the Ethereals, had been in space for 10,000 years. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire room. We are here because 50 million Vorthok have disappeared, Ethmar said. This has never happened before in galactic history. We need answers. A tall green alien stood up. He was General Crystal of the Kethmori Empire. His species loved war and fighting. The timing is clear, he said, pointing at Sujin. The humans meet the Vorthok. 3 days later, the Vorthok are gone. What more proof do we need? Other aliens nodded and made angry sounds. Sujin stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her voice was strong. The human species had nothing to do with the Vorthok disappearance. She said, "We are explorers and scientists, not killers. We would never harm another species." "Your history says different," said another alien. "This one looked like a giant spider with blue skin. Humans have fought wars for thousands of years. You kill your own kind. Why not aliens?" "Our past mistakes don't make us guilty of this," Sujin replied. "Besides, how could we make 50 million aliens disappear? We don't have that kind of technology." General Crystal laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Maybe humans have secret weapons. Maybe you've been lying about your abilities." "That's enough," Ethmar said. "Representative Han, does humanity have any explanation for what happened?" Sujin took a deep breath. "We are investigating. Our scientists are studying all the data from the first contact meeting. We will share what we find." "You have 3 days," Ethmar said. "If humanity cannot prove its innocence, we will assume you are guilty. And guilty species face punishment." The meeting ended. Sujin walked out feeling scared and alone. She sent an urgent message to Earth. "We're running out of time." On Luna Station, Dr. Myung Park worked day and night on the Vorthok brain scans. Commander Taeho brought her food and coffee, but she barely ate. She was too focused on the strange patterns she had found. "Look at this," she said to Taeho, pointing at her computer screen. "These are human brain scans from our crew." The screen showed different colored lines that moved up and down. Each line looked different from the others. "Now look at the scans," Myung said. She pressed a button, and new lines appeared. These lines were almost identical. They moved up and down at exactly the same times. "What does that mean?" Taeho asked. "Individual minds should be different," Myung explained. "Every person thinks their own thoughts, but the Vorthok minds are too similar. It's like they're all connected to the same brain." Dr. Wonjae Lim arrived from Earth that morning. He was a specialist in how alien minds worked. Myung showed him the brain scans. "This is incredible," Wonjae said. "I've never seen anything like this. If these readings are correct, the Vorthok aren't really individuals at all." "What do you mean?" Taeho asked. "Think of it like a computer network," Wonjae explained. "Individual computers can work alone, but if you connect them all to the same network, they can share information instantly. The Vorthok minds might work the same way." Myung felt excited and scared at the same time. "But what happens if you break the network connection?" Wonjae thought for a moment. "The individual computers would still work, but if the Vorthok minds are completely dependent on their network, they would shut down." Myung finished. Like computers without an operating system, the 3 humans looked at each other. They were starting to understand what had happened, but it made them feel sick. "During the first contact meeting, I ran standard biological scans," Myung said, quietly. "It's normal procedure to learn about new species. But if those scans somehow interfered with their mental network, then we accidentally disconnected 50 million minds," Taeho said. His voice was barely a whisper. Wonjae was studying the scan data more carefully. "There's something else here. Look at these energy readings. The Vorthok weren't just connected to each other. They were broadcasting some kind of signal." "What kind of signal?" Myung asked. "I'm not sure yet, but it was aimed at us during the meeting. They were trying to do something to our minds." Meanwhile, Captain So-young Choi and her crew were exploring more Vorthok facilities. They had visited 12 stations and 3 colony worlds. Every place was the same, empty but intact, like everyone had just vanished. But Medical Officer Yoon Ji-yoon found something new on the planet Vorthok Prime. In the main city, She discovered a large building full of strange machines. "Captain, you need to see this." Yanji called over her radio. So-young and engineer Hyan-woo came running. They found Yanji standing in front of a huge metal cylinder. It was 20 feet tall and covered in blinking lights. "What is it?" So-young asked. "I think it's some kind of stasis pod," Yanji said, "and there's something inside." They looked through a clear window in the cylinder. Inside was a Vorthok. He was floating in blue liquid, not moving. Cables connected to his head and body. "Is he alive?" Hyan-woo asked. Eun-ji checked her medical scanner. "Yes, but barely. His brain is active, but just barely. It's like he's in a very deep sleep." They found more cylinders, hundreds of them. Each one contained a Vorthok in the same sleeping state. Captain Hyan-woo said, "I'm reading similar facilities all across the planet. Maybe millions of these stasis pods." So-young felt a chill. The Vorthok aren't dead. They're here, but they can't wake up. She called the New Horizon immediately. "We need to get this information to Earth right away. I think we've found where the Vorthok went." Back on Luna Station, the 3 scientists worked together to understand what had really happened. Wonjae had made a breakthrough about the Vorthok signal. "They weren't just trying to communicate with us," he told Myung and Taeho. "They were trying to control our minds." "Control our minds," Taeho repeated. "How?" "The signal was designed to make other species feel fear and submission. It's a form of mental domination, but it didn't work on us." Why not? Myung asked. 1J smiled for the first time in days. Because humans are too chaotic. Our minds are too individual, too different from each other. The Vorthok signal was designed for species that think more alike. So when our scanners interfered with their signal, Myung began. We broke their network, 1J finished. All the Vorthok minds were connected through quantum signals. When we disrupted those signals, they lost their connection to each other. And without that connection, they couldn't stay conscious, Taeho said. The three humans sat in silence. They had solved the mystery, but now they faced a bigger problem. What should they do about it? We could probably fix it, Myung said slowly. Restore their network and wake them up, but should we? 1J asked. They were trying to control minds. How many other species have they dominated? That's not our decision to make alone, Taeho said. We need to tell Earth Command everything. We've learned. Myung started packing up her research. The Galactic Council is going to blame us no matter what. But at least now we know the truth. The truth is that humanity saved the galaxy from mind controllers, 1J said, even if we did it by accident. As they prepared to send their report to Earth, none of them knew that their discovery would change everything. The galaxy was about to learn that the species they thought was civilized and advanced was actually enslaving minds across space. And humanity, the species everyone called primitive and violent, had been the only ones immune to their control. Dr. Min Sukong had been working for 36 hours straight. He was Earth's best quantum physicist, and Admiral Jamin Kao had sent him to Luna Station to help solve the Vorthok mystery. His eyes were red from staring at computer screens. But he had found something amazing. Dr. Park, Dr. Lim, you need to see this, Minsu called out. His voice was excited but tired. Myung and Won-jae rushed to his workstation. The screen showed complex mathematical equations and wave patterns that looked like ocean waves. I've been studying the quantum signatures from your first contact scans, Minsu explained. The Vorthok weren't just using mental control. They were using quantum consciousness manipulation. What does that mean in simple terms? Won-jae asked. Min pointed at the wave patterns. Every conscious mind creates quantum waves. Usually, these waves are unique to each individual. But the Vorthok had found a way to synchronize quantum consciousness across their entire species. Like tuning all radios to the same frequency, Myung asked. Exactly, but it's more than that. They weren't just sharing thoughts. They were rewriting the quantum patterns of other species' minds, literally changing how other aliens think and feel. Won-jae felt sick. You mean they could make other species obey them without those species even knowing it? That's exactly what they were doing. Look at these readings from other Galactic Council species. Minsu showed them more wave patterns. All of them show signs of quantum manipulation. Some species have been under Vorthok influence for hundreds of years. Myung stared at the data. So when our scanners analyzed the Vorthok during first contact, we created quantum interference, Minsu finished. Our scanning technology accidentally disrupted their quantum network. Without that network, the Vorthok consciousness simply collapsed. Commander Taeho had been listening from the doorway. Are you saying the Vorthok can't think as individuals? That's right, Minsu said. They evolved as a collective mind. Each Vorthok body is like a finger on a hand, cut off from the main brain. A finger can't think for itself. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The Vorthok Empire hadn't been built through diplomacy or trade. It had been built by enslaving the minds of other species. Captain So-young Choi sent more reports from Vorthok space. Her crew had found something disturbing on every world they visited. Hidden in the basement levels of major buildings were rooms full of alien prisoners. Captain's log, Day 7 of investigation. So-young spoke into her recorder. We have found evidence that the Vorthok were keeping slaves from dozens of different species. These aliens appear to have been under some form of mind control. Medical officer Yoon Ji-yoon was examining one of the freed prisoners. It was a small, furry alien from a species called the Pilari. The creature had been unconscious when they found it, but now it was waking up. Where am I? The alien asked in a weak voice. Its language was automatically translated by the ship's computer. You're safe now, Yoon-ji said gently. You're on a human ship. What's the last thing? You remember? The Pilori's eyes grew wide with fear. The Vorthok came to our world. They said they wanted to make a trade agreement. Our leaders met with them, and then the alien stopped talking and looked confused. Then what? Yoon-ji asked. I don't remember. It's all fuzzy. But I think I've been somewhere else for a long time, working on something, but I can't remember what. So-young called her crew together. How many prisoners have we found so far? Engineer Hyun-woo checked his tablet. On this planet alone, over 10,000 aliens from 30 different species. Most of them have been unconscious since the Vorthok disappeared, but they're starting to wake up now. It's like the mind control is wearing off, Young-ji added. Without the Vorthok network, these aliens are getting their free will back. So-young felt angry and sad at the same time. The Vorthok hadn't just controlled other species, they had stolen millions of individuals from their homes and families. Keep documenting everything, she ordered. The Galactic Council needs to see this evidence. On Earth, President Jin Cho received the full report from Luna Station. She sat in her office with Admiral Ko and General Sungwon Park. The report was hundreds of pages long, but the main points were clear. So the Vorthok were mind-controlling other species for thousands of years, the president said, and humanity accidentally broke their control system during first contact. That's correct, Admiral Ko replied. Our quantum scanners interfered with their consciousness network. Without that network, the Vorthok fell into catatonic states. General Park leaned forward. What about the other species they were controlling? Are they free now? It appears so. Captain Choi has found thousands of aliens who are regaining their free will. They don't even remember being controlled. President Cho stood up and walked to the window. She could see the lights of the city below. Millions of humans living their lives, thinking their own thoughts, making their own choices. She had never realized how precious that freedom was. The Galactic Council thinks we're monsters, she said, but we accidentally freed the galaxy from real monsters. The question now is, what do we do about it? Admiral Ko said. We could probably restore the Vorthok network, wake them up and let them continue as before. Absolutely not, the president said firmly. We can't let them go back to enslaving minds. But we also can't just leave them in catatonic states forever. General Park had an idea. What if we could wake them up without restoring their collective network, make them into true individuals? Is that possible? The president asked. Admiral Ko nodded. Dr. Kong thinks it might be, but it would mean fundamentally changing what the Vorthok are. They would have to learn to think as individuals, instead of as part of a collective. The president made her decision. Contact Representative Han. Tell her to request another council meeting. It's time we told the galaxy the truth about the Vorthok Empire. Meanwhile, Dr. Min-Soo Kang and Dr. Myung Park were working on the most important project of their lives. They were trying to figure out how to separate individual Vorthok consciousness from the collective network. The problem is that brains developed differently from ours, Min-Soo explained. Human brains can function independently, but Vorthok brains are like computer terminals. They need a central server to work properly. But what if we could give each Vorthok brain its own server? Myung asked. Create individual consciousness patterns for each one. Min-Soo's eyes lit up. That might work. We would have to reprogram their quantum consciousness patterns, give each Vorthok their own unique mental signature. Would they still be Vorthok? Myung wondered. Physically? Yes. But mentally, they would be completely different. They would have individual thoughts, individual personalities, individual choices. They would be free. The two scientists worked through the night. They were designing something that had never been done before. Artificial individual consciousness. But they both knew this was about more than just the Vorthok. The galaxy was watching. Whatever humanity did next would show all the other species what humans really stood for. As the sun rose over Luna Station, Myung and Min-Soo finished their preliminary design. They had created a way to give the Vorthok something their species had never had. The freedom to think for themselves. Now, they just had to convince the galaxy that this was the right thing to do. The next Galactic Council meeting would decide the fate of 50 million Vorthok and the future of humanity in space. But for the first time since this crisis began, the humans felt hope. They had discovered that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their belief that every individual mind deserved to be free. The Earth Council meeting room had never been so quiet. President Jin Cho sat at the head of a long table surrounded by the most important people on the planet. Admiral Jaemin Ko, General Sungwon Park, Dr. Won Jae Lim, and 20 other leaders all faced the same impossible question. What should humanity do with 50 million unconscious Vorthok? Let me make sure I understand our options, the president said. We can restore the Vorthok collective network and wake them up as they were. We can leave them unconscious forever. Or we can try this new procedure to wake them up as individuals. Dr. Won Jae nodded. Those are the three choices. But each one has serious consequences. Explain them to me again, the president said. Admiral Ko spoke first. If we restore their network, the Vorthok go back to being mind controllers. They would probably try to enslave other species again, maybe even us. If we leave them unconscious, we're basically committing genocide, General Park added. 50 million beings would never wake up. That makes us as bad as any conqueror in history. And the third option? The president asked. Dr. Won Jae took a deep breath. We fundamentally change what the Vorthok are. We force individual consciousness on a species that has never experienced it. We don't know if they can survive such a change. The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, the president spoke. Has anyone asked the other species what they want? The ones who are under Vorthok control? Captain Choi has been interviewing the freed prisoners, Admiral Ko said. Their responses are ... complicated. He activated a screen showing video recordings from Vorthok space. The first video showed a small, blue alien with large eyes. It was one of the Pelori that Yoonji had been treating. I remember now, the alien said in the recording. The Vorthok told us we were joining their empire, but they changed our thoughts, made us want to serve them. I built weapons for them for 50 years and thought I was happy doing it, but I wasn't happy. I was enslaved. The second video showed a different alien. tall and thin with silver skin. My entire species served the Vorthok for 300 years. We thought they were our friends and protectors. Now I know they were our masters. They stole our free will and made us grateful for it. More videos played. Every freed alien told the same story. The Vorthok had convinced them that slavery was freedom, that obedience was happiness. How many species were affected? The president asked. At least 47, Admiral Ko replied. Some 400s of years. Entire civilizations were living as slaves without knowing it. Meanwhile, on Luna Station, Dr. Myung Park was struggling. With her own guilt, she sat alone in her laboratory, staring at the quantum scanner that had started everything. Commander Taeho found her there at 3 in the morning. You can't blame yourself for this, he said. I should have been more careful. Myung replied. I should have realized that the Vorthok were different. Maybe I could have found a way to scan them without disrupting their network. And then what? They would have continued enslaving minds across the galaxy. How many more species would they have controlled? Myung looked at him with tired eyes. But now 50 million beings are unconscious because of what I did. How do I live with that? By helping to fix it? Taeho said. Dr. Kong says your consciousness separation procedure could work. You could give the Vorthok something they've never had. Individual freedom. What if they don't want it? What if being individuals kills them? Then we'll have to live with that decision. But at least we'll know we tried to do the right thing. The second Galactic Council meeting was even more tense than the first. Representative Sujin Han stood before hundreds of alien delegates. But this time, she wasn't alone. Captain So-young Choi was with her, along with video evidence of Vorthok mind control. Council leader Ethmer called for order. Representative Han, you claimed humanity could explain the Vorthok disappearance. We are listening. Sujin activated a holographic display. It showed the quantum wave patterns that Dr. Kung had discovered. The Vorthok were not the peaceful species you thought they were. They were using quantum consciousness manipulation to control the minds of other species. Angry voices filled the chamber. Many aliens refused to believe it. General Crystal of the Kethmori stood up. This is human? Lies, he shouted. You want us to believe the Vorthok were evil, so we don't punish you for destroying them. Then explain this. Captain So-young said. She activated videos from the freed prisoners. The testimonies of enslaved aliens played for the entire council. To see. The chamber became very quiet as aliens watched their own species members describe centuries of mental slavery. Some council members looked shocked. Others looked afraid. How many of us were affected? Asked a small green alien from the back of the room. Dr. Kong's voice came through the communication system from Luna Station. Our analysis suggests that most Galactic Council species show signs of quantum manipulation. Some more than others, but almost all have been influenced to some degree. The implications hit the chamber like a bomb. The Galactic Council itself might have been under control. Every decision, every law, every treaty might have been influenced by mind controllers. What do you propose we do? Ethmer asked. His ancient voice sounded very tired. We can restore the Vorthok as they were, Sujin said. We can leave them unconscious forever. Or we can offer them something new. Individual consciousness and the chance to choose their own path. And if this procedure fails? Another alien asked. Then the Vorthok die, Sujin said honestly. But they die as individuals, not as slaves to a collective mind. The debate went on for hours. Some species wanted the Vorthok restored so they could be punished for their crimes. Others wanted them left unconscious as a warning to future conquerors. But a growing number of delegates began to support the human proposal. Individual consciousness is a fundamental right, said a delegate from the peaceful Zephyri species. Even our enemies deserve the chance to choose their own thoughts. But what if they choose to become conquerors again? General Crystal demanded. Then we stop them, Sujin replied. But we stop them as individuals making individual choices, not as victims of collective programming. Finally, Ethmar called for a vote. All in favor of the human consciousness separation procedure? Lights appeared around the chamber as delegates voted. Sujin held her breath and counted. It was close, but when the final count appeared, the human proposal had won by 12 votes. The motion passes, Ethmer announced. Humanity will attempt to give individual consciousness to the Vorthok species. If they succeed, the Vorthok will be judged as individuals for their crimes. If they fail, he didn't finish the sentence. Back on Earth, President Da Jin-cho received the news from the council. She immediately called Dr. Kang and Dr. Park on Luna Station. You have permission to proceed, she told them. The galaxy is counting on you to do the impossible. We'll start with one individual, Dr. Kang said. If it works, we can scale up the procedure. And if it doesn't work? The president asked. Then we'll know we tried, Dr. Park replied. Sometimes that's all you can do. The president ended the call and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 50 million unconscious beings waited for humanity to decide their fate. It was the biggest responsibility any species had ever faced. But as she watched the stars twinkle in the darkness, President Cho felt proud of her species. Humans had been called primitive and violent, but when faced with the ultimate test, they had chosen to fight for freedom and individual choice. Soon, the galaxy would learn whether humanity's greatest experiment would succeed or fail. Dr. Min-Soo Kang's hands shook as he prepared the consciousness separation device. It had taken 2 weeks to build, working day and night with Dr. Myung Park. The machine looked like a metal helmet covered in blinking lights and thin wires. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Captain Soyoung Choi. She had brought the first test subject from Vorthok Prime, a young Vorthok engineer who had been in stasis for 3 weeks. "We've run every simulation we can," Myung replied, "but we won't know for sure until we try it." The unconscious Vorthok lay on a medical bed in Luna Station's main laboratory. His gray skin was pale, and his forearms hung limply at his sides. Monitoring equipment showed his vital signs, weak but stable. Commander Taeho watched from the observation room with Admiral Jamin Ko, who had come from Earth for this historic moment. Representatives from 12 alien species were also watching through video links. The entire galaxy wanted to see if humanity could do the impossible. "Begin the procedure," Admiral Ko said. Min-Soo carefully placed the consciousness device on the Vorthok's elongated head. The machine hummed to life, sending quantum signals directly into the alien's brain. "I'm detecting the collective network pathways," Myung reported, watching her instruments. "They're completely inactive, just like we expected." "Now I'm going to create new individual pathways," Min-Soo said. His fingers moved over the controls. "This is the dangerous part. If I make a mistake, his brain could shut down completely." Everyone held their breath as Min-Soo worked. The machine's humming grew louder. Lights flashed across its surface in complex patterns. On the medical monitors, the Vorthok's brain activity began to change. "It's working," Myung whispered. "I'm seeing new neural patterns forming, individual patterns." For 10 minutes, the machine continued its work. Then, slowly, the Vorthok's eyes opened. He looked around the room with confusion, seeing individual faces for the first time in his life. Where am I?" he asked. His voice was different from other Vorthok they had heard. It sounded uncertain, personal. "You're safe," Myung said gently. "You're on Luna Station. I'm Dr. Park. What's your name?" The Vorthok tried to sit up. "My name? I don't understand." "We are, I am, He stopped and looked confused. "Why can't I hear the others?" "There are no others in your mind anymore," Myung explained. "You are an individual now. Your thoughts are your own." "My thoughts?" The Vorthok touched his head with one of his forehands. "These thoughts, they feel strange. So many different ideas at once. Is this normal?" Dr. Won-jae, who had been observing, quietly stepped forward. "What you're experiencing is individual consciousness. Every human feels this way. We all have many different thoughts and feelings at the same time." The Vorthok looked at him with wide eyes. "You mean you feel this chaos in your minds every day? How do you make decisions?" "We think about our options and choose what feels right to us," Won-jae explained. "Sometimes we make mistakes, but there are mistakes to make." Over the next few hours, the medical team ran tests on the awakened Vorthok. His name, he decided, was Keshel. He had chosen the name himself, the first choice he had ever made as an individual. "I remember being part of the collective," Keshel told them, "but it feels like a dream now. We thought we were superior because we always agreed with each other, but we only agreed because we were all the same mind." "Do you remember controlling other species?" Soyoung asked carefully. Keshel's expression changed to one of horror. "Yes, we thought we were helping them, making them peaceful and cooperative, but we were stealing their thoughts, weren't we?" "Yes," Myung said simply. Keshel was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was full of sadness. "I want to apologize to every being we hurt, but there are so many of them. How can one individual apologize for the crimes of a collective?" "By making different choices going forward," Taeho said from the observation room. "By choosing to help instead of harm." The success of the first procedure made headlines across the galaxy, but humanity was just getting started. Admiral Ko organized the largest humanitarian mission in galactic history. Human ships traveled to every Vorthok world, carrying consciousness separation devices. Dr. Park and Dr. Kong trained teams of human scientists to perform the procedure. It was delicate work that required patience and skill. Some attempts failed, and those Vorthok died peacefully in their sleep, but most succeeded. Each awakened Vorthok faced the same difficult adjustment that Keshel had experienced. Learning to think as an individual was like learning to walk all over again. Dr. Won-jae established counseling centers to help them adapt to their new consciousness. "The hardest part for them is making choices," Won-jae reported to Earth Command. As a collective, they never had to decide anything for themselves. Now every decision, from what to eat for breakfast to what career to pursue, is overwhelming. But the Vorthok adapted faster than anyone expected. Individual consciousness brought creativity and innovation that the collective had never possessed. Vorthok engineers began designing new technologies. Vorthok artists created beautiful sculptures and music. Vorthok philosophers wrote books about the experience of individual thought. Not all Vorthok chose to wake up. When the procedure was explained to them through quantum communication with the still connected collective network, about 10% chose to remain in stasis rather than become individuals. Humanity respected their choice. "Every being has the right to choose their own fate," President Da Jin-cho declared. even if that choice is no choice at all. 6 months after the First Awakening, the Galactic Council held another meeting. This time individual Vorthok were present as observers. Keschel had been chosen by his fellow awakened Vorthok to speak for them. "We stand before you as individuals," Keschel said to the assembled aliens. "We cannot undo the crimes of our collective. We cannot give back the centuries of freedom we stole. But we can promise that individual Vorthok will never enslave minds again." "How can we trust you?" asked General Crixtel, though his voice was less angry than before. "Because we understand the value of individual thought now," another awakened Vorthok said. "To steal someone's thoughts would be like stealing part of their soul. No individual would choose to do such a thing." Representative Sujin Han stood up. "Humanity proposes that the awakened Vorthok be given a chance to prove themselves. Let them work alongside other species to repair the damage their collective caused." The proposal passed by a much wider margin than the consciousness separation had. The galaxy was beginning to trust both humanity and the individual Vorthok. Captain So Young Choi led the first joint human-Vorthok mission to liberate enslaved colonies. Working together, they freed millions of aliens who had been under mind control for generations. "It's strange," Keschel said as they watched a group of freed Polari reunite with their families. "The collective thought we were bringing order to the galaxy, but we were really bringing chaos by destroying free will." "Humans learned long ago that some chaos is good," So Young replied. "It's the chaos of different ideas competing with each other. That's how progress happens." On Earth, President Cho established the Individual Rights Protocol, a set of galactic laws protecting mental freedom.